Hello, I'm Pastor Don Wolf, pastor here at Cornerstone Worship Center in Center-Vestaburg, Michigan. And today we're down to two people. My wife, Pastor Ernestine, and we decided, was kicking around what we would be talking about today. And we had something special happen yesterday. We celebrated 25 years of marriage yesterday. And so we thought maybe we could talk about walking with the Lord together.
Amen.
For 25 years. And we don't know how it's going to work out. I hope it works out better than nothing.
Well, as good as our marriage.
It's good, yeah, at least that good. Just a little introduction, then I'll let my wife go ahead and talk for a while. We met when I had come back from Oregon, and out there my wife had died, and so my kids all in the Detroit area. So I came back to Michigan, and I was supposed to have a position that would put me in St. Louis, Michigan. So I bought a house, moved in, and then only to discover that position was no longer available. So to make a long story short, I started going to another church in St. Louis, and there was this young lady in the church there who set a trap for me. And well, we started dating a little bit, and then finally we decided to get married. And I just got to tell you this. We got married August 28th, 1999. And in November of 1999, I had her all packed up, and we headed for South Africa. And we spent, if I remember right, about 2 weeks in South Africa with another group. And she had never been on an airplane for 18 hours.
No.
And that was quite an experience for her. And but I think all in all, that's how we started the marriage, doing things for the Lord. And I think I can honestly say it has been 25 years of not only walking with the Lord, but living for Him and living for each other. And I did tell her this, and she repeated to me really, that she would always be number two in my life, because the Lord has to be number one. And she is in full agreement with that. And it's worked out pretty good. I'm going to turn over to you and see where you want to go with that. We did not rehearse any of this. So.
Well, my thing was also he was gonna be number two with me after the Lord. But anyway, yeah, we met in St. Louis, and the piano player said, "I think he likes you." And that's when he was traveling a lot, going to a lot of ministries then. And I said, "Oh, I don't think so." I said, "He travels so much, he's probably got a woman in every port." That was a joke. And she just laughed. But then it was right after that he'd asked me for a date, so.
Which did not turn out too well.
Yeah, because it got canceled about 2 times. The third time you finally made it, or was it 3 times? I don't know.
Well, the first time I was going to Tennessee, and I was supposed to be there 4 or 5 days, and I got down there, and I was asked to go into Missouri. And so I was supposed to get back on Friday, and we was going to go out and have dinner on Saturday night. So I had to call her and say, I will not be back. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, whatever it would be. And so we canceled. And then later on, I don't know, 2-3 weeks later or something, I asked her again. And that time I know that I went to Oregon.
Yep.
And I went there to the old church. They had asked me to come out there and speak. But when I was there, I got a call to go to Idaho. And so I had to call once again. And I was beginning to wonder, Lord, are you trying to tell me something? Anyway, it all worked out. And we finally went out for the first date, which was dinner. And if I remember right, I don't even remember where we went. But I know it was to a restaurant.
I think I went to your house for dinner. You said you wanted to cook it.
Not the first one.
Not the first one?
No.
I can't remember then.
Yeah, actually I was cheap. And it was much cheaper to cook the dinner than to buy the dinner.
But he doesn't like to eat his own cooking.
I don't like to cook, period. And anyway, and that led to us getting married.
Yeah.
And her brother, Al, was a minister. And so my wife said, well, why don't we have my brother marry us? And so he did. In our house. Well, it was my house then until I said I do. And then she took over.
Somebody had to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And had your children and had my children there. And as a matter of fact, I know for sure, that was the first and last time we had all of our family together in one place.
I'm not sure about that, probably.
When it comes like Christmas time,
Yeah.
I go down to Detroit area. Well, we go down to Detroit area for the kids, and then of course all of her children live in this same general area out here in the country. Where we are now is about center of Michigan, and it's farming. It's a farming area, and now we're not too far from Lansing or Grand Rapids or Mount Pleasant, which are large towns, but this is a farming area. And but you want to tell them how we got this started the church?
Well, we've gone, I don't know, on a trip.
It was in Tennessee.
And it didn't go good. It did not go good.
No, we did not.
And so we were coming back and we were talking. I don't know how it got started, but we were talking about starting a church.
She talked about it.
Well, could be. I thought you did too.
I listened.
Well, we were just sort of like in limbo. We went to another church or another place and that wasn't working out good.
No.
And so things had to be changed. And so I guess that's when I suggested it.
Yeah. The reason I said what I did when I was in Oregon, that's where my wife had died. And she wanted to start a church there. And I guess I was willing to do it, but thankfully, and I say thankfully because shortly after we started looking for buildings and we couldn't find one that was appropriate, she got the cancer. And she died a short time after. So that's the reason I came back here. And so one of the things she left out was when we were in Tennessee, we packed up and left.
Yes,
But we had heard when we had gone to South Africa, there were some brothers involved in that. And the one from Africa had came back and was preaching at another church. So we had heard about it, so I said, let's go there. And we had a great service there. It was just fantastic. And on the way home, that's when we started talking about starting the church here, which we did. October 1, 1999. No.
1920?
2000.
2000.
2000. And started in our house. And probably within about 4 or 5 weeks, Pastor Al and I had gone out to the garage and cleaned it up and put up paneling and some other things, put in a heating system, which I had never done and Al had never done. And when we lit it up, we didn't know if there was going to be an explosion or what there was going to be. But it worked.
Yeah.
And we was there almost 2 years.
We really grew in that church.
Yes.
In that garage. I mean, we got crowded out.
We could have 35 chairs in it, and no altar area.
No.
Just 35 chairs, and we were packed out on Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday. And so, I mean, when I say packed out, I mean packed
it was
out.
really close.
And so we had to get something, and we looked and looked for something to rent or lease, and nothing. Finally saw these 5 acres where we are right now, and it was loaded with trees.
Yes.
Yes. And you want to talk about that, or?
Well, he made a bid on it or whatever, and anyway, we did buy it. And I said, what are we gonna do with all these trees? But the man that sold it to us his son wanted the trees. So we said, okay, because we figured that would clear it. And so when we got through, there was all these tops all over. I mean,
And stumps.
and I mean, it was bad. And I said, we can't burn them because I mean, it was too many. I said, I don't know what we're going to do. I just don't know what we're going to do. And a man from a factory not very far from here saw the tops, and he stopped by. They built chippers, and he wanted to know if he could have some of the tops. And so, because they were having an open house, and he needed the stuff so that he could show how their chippers worked. And so we made a deal. The only way you can have them all, if you take them all. And so he did. And no charge to us. That was
Right.
the Lord.
Right. And then one of the individuals who came to our church, he was a cat driver for road construction. And we got to find out this guy could actually pick up a pen with one of those big blades. He was a master. And he said that he had talked to his boss, and his boss told him that he could borrow the cat over the weekend, and he would excavate. He would level it so we could use it and push up the stumps.
Yeah.
And all we had to pay was for the fuel.
Yeah.
So he spent, I think, 2 or 3 weekends working here. He'd bring it home on Friday and take it back on Monday, the cat. And I just watched him, and I was totally amazed at the skill. But see, God knew.
Yes, he just, God moved in such a way.
Yes.
It was amazing. We still think about it.
Yes. It was, God knew he was going to need him and planted him in our church before the need.
Yeah.
And I think that's critical for us to understand. Sometimes, and I'm not saying he was irritant, because he wasn't, but sometimes even God will put an irritant person in your life because you know you're going to need him down the road.
Yeah, God would use.
Yeah, because he wasn't an irritant. He was just a great.
He was
And
He was special.
He was. And so that got taken care of, and it was just, and then her brother, no, it would be her late husband's brother, drove truck.
Yeah.
And he drove for mainly road construction. He'd haul rocks and things like that out. So we needed rocks for the parking lot. But man, it would have been spring come, man, it's going to be a horrible thing.
Gravel.
And so he stopped by, and he, if I remember right, and I may not have this correct, if it's not right.
I don't remember.
He went and picked up the loads and came here and spread it for us, the rocks that we needed. And we paid for the rock only. He donated the truck, he donated the gas, he donated his time. Once again,
God was with us.
God came through riding a white horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the armor. And so, and that got us into this place the first Sunday of February of 2002.
Yeah.
And so it took us 2 years to, well, almost 2 years to be here. And when we came here, we had an 80 by 40 building. And the sanctuary would hold, I think the most we ever had in it was 85, and we had to put some chairs in the hallway.
Yeah.
So that's when we knew we had a problem. And so in 2006, there's a story there, if I can. Yeah, we got plenty of time. I'm a great storyteller. After we started under one organization. And it wasn't long before we realized it wasn't the organization that we needed. And my wife had gone to school at the Anchor Bay Evangelistic Association School when she got out of high school. And she had heard that it was having their 50th, I believe it was the 50th anniversary here in Michigan. And so we decided we'd go to it. And when we walked into that church, and I'll never forget it, and when you met Maurice Hart, you never forget it. He was a short guy, energetic, and we walked into that place, and here came this very energetic, small guy. Good God Almighty! I'm Maurice Hart. Who are you? Glad to meet you. And immediately, I fell in love with him. Now, you hadn't met him either, because he took over after we went to school. And when we got in the car to go home, now, my wife went to school with one of the ladies that was there at that meeting. And so they got back together. So as we were driving back home, it's about pretty close to a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
We got to talk about it, and we both agreed that's the organization that we had to be with.
Yeah.
Was so impressed by him and how the meeting went and all. It was just, and we was only there for a day.
All the missionaries. There were so many missionaries.
Yes, and when we opened this church, we said we're going to be a missions church. And from the very first offering until even the last one that we've had, we've taken 10%. We have tied towards missions. Now, today we exceed that, what we send missions, but we still take 10%.
Yeah.
The other was through special offerings and things, but on the way back, we decided that we wanted to join. So my wife gets hold of Jeannie and finds out what needs to be done. And we were, I don't remember how, were we contacted by Maurice or did Jeannie just file for us?
I don't remember.
I think Jeannie just went ahead and made the contacts and said, I know who they are and that.
Filled out forms, and then they sent us forms. And
Yeah,
then we had, went to a service, and they...
Yeah, do you remember where we went?
I can't remember.
I think it was Ohio, down to Bryan. But I'm not gonna swear to
It's
that.
easy to get mixed up when we went to so many.
Oh, yeah. We make a point to go to every meeting that we can.
Yeah.
And actually, since we joined Anchor Bay, the only ones we have missed is the ones that they had in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That was just a little bit, not too handy for us to make, but man, we've been to the East Coast, we've been down south, and we've been all over the western part. And we've even made some travels out to the West Coast.
Yes.
With them. But if you're treated equally,
yes,
then, and that goes for marriages too, if you're treated equally, then you enjoy to give it a little extra effort.
It's even a little more than equally. It's like desiring to be with each other, desiring to go to it's like something you want to do. It's what God puts in your heart.
Yeah, as those of you who are Christians understand, God gets inside of you.
Yeah.
He starts getting rid of all that yuck that's inside. As he removes all that yuck, for instance, you find that the things of God are far more important than anything else in your life.
And such blessings and such joyful. They're joyful.
Yes, yes.
I mean, you go through trials, but still.
Oh, we've never gone through a trial.
God's good all the time.
Yeah, yes, he is.
He's really blessed us.
He has, and I had to believe it's mainly for, first of all, we decided that we was going to serve God regardless of the cost.
Yes.
And then when we started the church, it was the same. We said it's going to be a missions-directed church, and it has to be because the Lord told us to go into all the world, and so His church has to be one that's willing to go wherever God directs it.
Yes.
Now, we have had the pleasure of traveling in many parts of the world. I've had more than her because I was in another missions church long before we got met. And but now they have made those seats on an airplane
Smaller every time.
Yes, and the leg room has just got to where when you get elderly, your legs just won't take it. And so we don't do that anymore. If we can't get in the car, and even that's getting tough. But I surprised myself. We went to Tennessee 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We had rented a cabin to celebrate 25 years. And that is 550 miles from where we are. And going down, of course, part of it was going down after the church morning service.
Yeah.
We headed south, so we stopped at night and then finished the trip on Monday. But coming back, I thought we was going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And we had left around 8 o'clock in the morning, and about 3 o'clock, I was wasted. I was wasted. So we stopped to get something to eat, and when we got through eating, I felt pretty good.
Yeah.
So we got back in the car, and 12 hours from the time we left, we drove into the driveway. It surprised me. I did not think I could do that. But if we hadn't stopped and eaten, I would not have made it.
You have to make a stop.
Yeah, we did. We made
Yeah.
several stops.
Mhm.
You just have to get out and walk just a little bit
Yeah.
to stretch you. But there's so many things that God opens the doors. When you are honest with Him,
Amen.
then He just opens opportunities that you've never seen before. And it's...
I enjoyed the trips. I enjoyed going to Zambia. That was a real nice trip. And
Yeah.
and the other ones, the many trips too.
Yeah, you've gone to South Africa with me, you've
Yeah.
gone to
Yeah.
Zambia, and we've gone to
Uganda,
Uganda
2 or 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah.
Now, you didn't go to Kenya with me, did you?
I don't think so.
No, I think both times Tony went with me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that trip that Tony and I made to Kenya opened us up to meeting
Benson.
Benson,
Uh-huh.
and with the Benson, it opened it up with 2 people from Uganda,
Yeah.
and so now we have 3 ministries, 2 in Uganda and 1 in Kenya,
Mm-hmm.
that we, shall I say, they call us their spiritual
Yeah.
mother and father, and that's an honor.
Yes, it is. Yes,
It's an
it is.
honor.
They're so, I don't know, they want to please you so bad when you go.
Yes. And so that's one of the things that I never thought of myself being a spiritual father. No. But if you are open to God, He'll take you where you've never been before.
Right, yeah, He has.
Yes. And it's not just places. It's takes you to places where you got total comfort.
Yeah.
Even if it's a place that you wouldn't have
Right.
if it wasn't for that.
I always thought in my mind, like when you travel, like to a different country, when you're in a different country, you're in jeopardy.
You are.
Because their rules are not like our rules.
Yeah. Before we met, I took special trips, several of them, mainly to East Africa,
Mm-hmm.
several different nations in East Africa. And we would have anywhere from 12 to 22 people on those trips.
Mm-hmm.
And they were hard trips for me. It's one thing to go there and be responsible for yourself,
Yes.
but to go there and be responsible for 12, 20 people, then that is a load on you.
Yes, it is.
And that made those trips less desirable than when we start making small trips.
Right.
Especially when it's just you and I going, because,
Yeah.
I mean, we just naturally look after each other.
Yeah.
And, but again, God is good.
Very good.
Yes. Well, we just about ready to run out of time. You got anything you want to say to those watching?
Well, just serve the Lord, follow Jesus.
And don't be unduly yoked.
No, yes, no.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for our marriage and that we get along and that God is in our midst, and He has blessed us, and I thank Him for that.
Yeah. Man, there's 2 rules to be happy. Obey God and obey your wife. And then everything just goes smooth most of the time.
I don't know.
Anyway, we hope you enjoyed or got something out of
this.
Yeah. And
whatever you do, serve the Lord.
yes, and I want to thank you for saying yes
Well,
25 years ago.
thank you for asking.
I had no choice. She had me down on the floor, my arm bending.
He fits.
Rejoice in the Lord.